Hello everyone, welcome back to Discovering Dawson's Creek here on It's a Wonderful Podcast. If we had a little complaint last time out that we felt like not much happened, there were a couple of episodes where it was just like, oh well, we've just had a major event, what the hell do we do with that now?
Yeah.
We've got the opposite again this time out. A lot of significant things are happening immediately again, and there's craziness to get into in today's Discovering Dawson's Creek. Fairly monumentally significant event in terms of the show's dynamic and kind of overall story as well, which I don't necessarily think I was expecting this to happen either, as I think I've kept saying, season 5 feels like just a different beast of a show entirely. Whether it's, better, worse, positive, negative, whatever it may be,
Just
than
different for
seasons
sure.
1 to 4, it's just different. It seems to be treated differently. It seems to be paced as a series a little bit differently. And, at the moment, I'm kind of here for it. I must say, a lot seems to happen in episodes 7 and 8 of season 5, particularly, obviously, season 8. And did it think I would get there with this particular incident that happens? That I'm sure those, obviously, who watch and listen to Discovering Dawson's Creek do know what I'm referring to. My answer is no, not necessarily. I did not think this would happen in this exact way, but I don't hate it. I don't hate the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, I think episode 7 does set up a bit of nostalgia with these characters going back to that phase of their friendship when, Jen needed that support and Dawson was kind of there for her in that way. So, yeah, I like that we kind of eased into it with kind of a flashback of, their trajectory from couple to like genuine friends. And, it seemed like Jen was kind of left out of a lot for a good chunk. I think that's always a complaint that
A long time.
Jen tends to get sidelined from the rest of the group in a lot of the plot points, or just kind of separated off with Jack for a lot of it for the last couple high school things. So to see these two characters come back together and kind of have this whole kind of almost random feeling, but somehow works. Kinda, feeling energy kind of come back to them. It was really an interesting thing to throw into the mix, I thought. I remember feeling kind of watching that for the first time. And really connecting us to early seasons, because like you said, this whole college thing feels completely different from what the show started as and what we got familiar with over 4 seasons. So to kind of retread some ground from long ago was a nice kind of familiar little hug, I think.
It definitely was, and we'll obviously get into it in a little bit more depth later on once we talk specifically about episode 8, our second episode today. But it's most interesting, given that I feel like I frequently say in Discovering Dawson's Creek that clearly the, real focus of the whole show, overarching, is this unmatched soulmate relationship between Dawson and Joey. And it's all really always going to be about Dawson and Joey back and forth, coming back together, falling out, and it's all really going to end up there. This has thrown a spanner right into all that. And I don't hate that.
No.
I'm not here thinking, oh, the show has cheated me out of the expectation of what it was going to be. I'm here going, well, actually, let's remember that the show kind of did start with Dawson crushing on Jen, getting with Jen, and them being in a little bit of a fairly poor quality relationship for the majority of season 1, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
It now feels like we're, yeah, as you say, getting into that nostalgia of that again, but obviously with much more maturity. And if there's something I've said
Yes. Yeah.
about Dawson ever since the fallout of the love triangle between obviously him, Joey, and Pacey, that is perhaps Dawson's Creek's peak and is probably still considered that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has severely matured since the fallout of that. And I
Both of
don't
them
ever
have.
have both of them have, sure, but I don't ever have
Dawson even.
any complaints about Dawson's immaturity anymore, which I feel like for a good chunk of time was every damn
Every
show.
episode. Yes, and especially when he was with Jen, because a lot of, um, that relationship was starting with just kind of like a sexual attraction and
Yeah,
infatuation, and then ultimately when he found out how sexual of a person she was, he was very
yeah,
judgmental of that. So he wasn't mature enough to really handle any of that. And then when she kind of started spiraling after Abby's death, she kind of backtracked into a very immature mindset of
yeah,
drinking and partying and being kind of destructive with herself, throwing herself at Dawson, which I love that that comes up
yeah,
in these episodes. Um, and so neither of them really in the right place for each other at the right time. So now that they've really gone through some things, have grown, and she's found a way to help him in a way that doesn't feel forced, that doesn't feel put on, that doesn't feel like kid gloves, um, has kind of opened up that door for them to see them partly in the way they saw each other all those years ago, but also
yeah.
with these new mature eyes. So, I
And
mean,
maybe
it
it's the
could have
right
it
place
could
now.
feel like yes, and it could feel like total backtracking or lazy writing because, oh, we're really going back to a plot point from season 1, but how they went about it and how they found a way to connect it to their history really worked, I think. Because
Yeah.
I think you could based on how Jen had kind of been treated in those last few high school seasons, you could easily forget that, like, there was a whole period of time where Jen and Dawson were really close post their
Oh,
breakup,
100%.
where after
100,
Abby died, she was
100%.
kind of isolated and she was getting drunk and then just showing up at Dawson's and he would let her crash there. And, him going to her when he wanted to kind of feel a little more rebellious about things.
Yeah.
And, her giving him those kind of like, how to be a rebel lessons and stuff like that.
Yes.
All of that could have
Yes.
been easily forgotten by just how separated Jen ended up feeling, near the end of those last couple seasons. But, once they kind of talk about those things, once we see how kind of great they're clicking now, we are instantly taken back there, and I think it works really well. So, I was
Yeah.
excited to get to this point of the season because these are aspects that I do because, I talk about not remembering this season very much. And again, it was a case of, like, I knew this was coming, but I didn't remember it coming this soon. Like, I remembered it
Yeah.
being quite later in the season, and I don't even think I quite even remembered the context of because I think I remember telling you when we were talking about Dawson leaving film school, that I told you
Yeah.
that there was going to be some kind of film festival situation happening
Yes.
down the line, and this is what I was talking about, but
Yeah.
I didn't remember it being this soon in the season. So, yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think it's a really, I say we weren't going to get deep into it now. It turns out we've actually
I
opened the show
know.
getting deep into it. That's not
Yeah,
necessarily a problem, though. We don't have
no.
any issue
Yeah.
with doing
It's just
that.
exciting something
Um,
happening in these episodes, unlike last time where it was very kinda lackluster.
well, yeah, but also something really, really major happening for Jen, as we've said. Jen's been on the
Yeah.
periphery, felt like she's been on the periphery. Always enjoyed a good Jen storyline when they have
Mhm.
come about.
Yeah.
To have her back as the romantic lead of the show again now, for how
Yeah.
long? Who's to say at
Yeah.
this point? But surely you would now think it's going to be at least until the end of this season, at very least. So, who's to say? I don't know what happens after this, obviously. But it just feels nice to have that again. And
Yes.
in this vastly different way that doesn't actually feel like retreading the same steps because of the
Yeah.
amount of growth that they've undergone, which is a
Yes, and
wonderful
it's
thing.
yeah, and it's funny though because it's like you see this, and it's interesting hearing you say that it doesn't feel like treading old ground or kind of lazy rehashing of something. But when we were going back to the Dawson and Joey stuff, you felt like it kind of was a little bit. So
Yeah,
interesting
because
that it's
well,
just
this
the
is
execution of both, you know, kind of doing the same thing in a way, but the execution of it feels different and works differently for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is different. This is also different characters being written and played out and grown in
Mhm.
and developed
Yeah.
in different ways, though, isn't it?
Mhm.
Joey's character growth has been pretty minimal in terms of who she is as a
Yeah.
person. There's not
Yeah,
been a
she's still kind
great
of the same.
deal of growth there,
Yeah, yeah.
but with near enough everybody else, there's been a significant amount of growth. I always remember in those early episodes of Discovering Dawson's Creek, I was very much Team Joey. I felt very sorry for
Mhm.
Joey and how she was being mistreated. She just wanted Dawson very early on,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah. Mhm.
But that, I'm not saying that attitude from Joey hasn't changed here and there. It has. But the fundamental attitude of who Joey is, how Joey thinks about herself and
Yeah,
her relationships to other people really hasn't changed all that much. Whereas everybody else has, I feel.
yeah.
So that is where my mind now is kind of all in for a matured Dawson and Jen, as opposed to
Mm.
a matured Dawson and a still not that
Kind of the
matured
same
Joey.
Joey. Yeah, because Joey never really had too far to go in terms of a character shift. She's kind of always been the same person. When she's had maybe faulty moments of immaturity, she rebounds pretty quickly. So there's never
Yeah,
like a ton for her to have to learn from a situation because she's always been this kind of headstrong, really smart,
yeah,
really cares about specific things type of person, and she hasn't really needed to change or really learn much because she's been kind of a consistent great character. Whereas Pacey, he's had to overcome
Pacey's
quite a
been a
bit
mess.
of
Dawson's
yes,
been a mess.
yes, confidence issues with Pacey and believing in himself and believing there was more out there for him. Dawson in really growing in maturity and his kind of petulance and selfishness and privilege. And Jen really overcoming her past and her pain and her
Yeah,
trauma from her parents and being sexualized way too young. And so all of the other three really had a lot to kind of grow from, whereas Joey kind of didn't really, never really had anything to kind of fight against. She always felt the same about everything kind of every
yeah.
time we've known her in every phase we've known her.
It's an
So,
interesting one.
yeah, yeah.
Get the binder out, though. I think it's about time we get properly into
Yes.
the episodes because there's a lot more going on in these episodes than just that major storyline, and we'll get into the small details of exactly how it comes about, obviously, but I think our feelings
Yes.
on it are quite clear, even though we haven't actually said specifically what happens. We've just alluded to the fact that Dawson and Jen now appear to be the romantic leads again.
Yeah, interesting. So,
However,
episode
episode 7.
yes, episode 7, Text, Lies, and Videotape, aired November 21st, 2001. Jen helps Dawson go to the shrink he ran away from last week. Dawson still thinks that the whole idea of sharing his thoughts with a complete stranger is weird, but he is surprised with how much he learns from it. Back home, he has to handle the problem with his father's will, which does not include Lily. Meanwhile, Joey is working on a project with a project about old love letters written by an obscure writer, and with the help of Audrey's audition tape for the real world Ibiza, she manages to catch something no one of her fellow students caught. Pacey confronts Karen about the risks she is taking for having an affair with Danny, and Karen is hurt when Danny's wife shows up at a dinner party and he blows her off completely.
Yes, yes. It's a whole messy old situation between Karen and Danny and Pacey, really, isn't it? It's all a bit uncomfortable.
You know what?
Karen's just got herself into a mess and she can't kind of
work her way through it.
She can't work her way through it. And, you know, if you're going to get yourself into that sort of mess, you kind of got to realize, oh, yeah, you've got to work your way through it.
Yeah.
Kind of
There's no really winning. You are in the position to not win this situation. Yeah.
Exactly. There's no winning. So you've kind of just got to realize that. And she kind of doesn't really want to realize that. She's got this, she's holding on to this belief that, oh, well, Danny's promised me the world, you know.
Yeah, he loves me. He's gonna leave her like that. Yeah, no.
He's not. He's not going to do that.
Yeah.
He's kind of he gets the, you know, she gets this voicemail on the answering machine that he's also kind of not really going to do that. And it throws Karen for a bit. And I feel sorry for Karen. Sure, I feel sorry for Karen. But also, you know what you're getting into if you're going to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Know what it is, how it's going to potentially work out, and if you're okay with like what that's going to lead to for you. Like if you can manage those expectations. And
because
Karen,
what does this look like now, Karen? Because Pacey's a bit upset with you because you don't even realize it was his boat you were doing all the business on.
Yes, and it's also, you know, ruined how he feels about this mentor, this person who's kind of shown him this respect and put a lot of you know, stock and faith and work into, you know, giving Pacey this kind of really interesting unexpected purpose. So that has kind of been killed for him. And then he also, you know, has had these feelings for Karen. So it sucks to see this person also mistreat a woman he finds himself caring about. And it's also frustrating for him to see her really
mistreat herself.
Work. Yes, exactly. And work against her own best interests. So a really interesting plot line, I think, for Pacey to deal with in terms of how he fits into all of this, and what he does to kind of try to help Karen out of it, and doing it without judging her as well. So I love that Pacey,
important.
Yes, as Pacey is somebody, you know, full of flaw, that he can objectively look at her situation, not judge her for it, but tell her like this isn't going to go well for you, and also kind of just be brutally honest with her, but also say, you know, this is not going to work out well for you, but I will be here if you need anything. Kind of situation, to the point where he's even like, you know, I'll go out with you and it doesn't have to be a date, doesn't have to be anything you don't want it to be. I just want you to know that like you have options and you have somebody who will support you without judgment, who's in the situation, who knows the situation, who knows these people. And so the fact that he kind of makes himself this person to lean on, but then at all, he's also putting himself in a sticky situation because he likes her. He's genuinely into her. So, you know, he's kind of setting himself up to get potentially hurt as well. So
potentially,
it's a bit of a messy
thing. It's a messy thing, but it's the right thing for Pacey to do. It's the right attitude.
Yes, and I think he wouldn't have it any other way. And I love that, like, I think there's a nice moment. I like that we're getting back to nice moments with Pacey and Dawson, because even, you know, we've talked about through the course of the show, and then even on this rewatch, this has gotta be like, I don't know, my 10th or so rewatch of this show, that there was never a ton of strong moments with Dawson and Pacey to speak to this longtime friendship, because, you know, we surmise that like him and Dawson have been friends just as long as Dawson and Joey have been friends. But we don't really get to see a ton of that. Or it feels very one-sided, where it's Pacey kind of being a good friend and Dawson just kind of like writing Pacey off in a certain way. Very few moments of Dawson really supporting or defending Pacey. We see it, but not to the degree that I would have liked. Yes. So I like that, like, Dawson in this more mature place, like, he's kind of, starting to come back from the death of Mitch. And I think he wants to be there for his friends, but they're all still kind of kid gloving him a little bit.
Yeah.
So Dawson, I like that it's like this eager moment of Dawson, like, you can tell me like what's wrong. Like, I kind of want to hear it. Like, I want to be, somebody who will give you advice. And Pacey's like, oh no, I don't want to bore you with my problems and that whole kind of thing. But Dawson, clearly wants to kind of be there for somebody and get his mind off of his own stuff. So he does still kind of give him a little bit of advice anyway. And he says, Pacey, be there for the girl. Like, I don't know the ins and
Yeah.
outs of the situation, but I know who you are. And I think you won't be able to kind of, rest unless you do this. So I think the best thing for you to do in this situation is be there for the girl. So I like that, Dawson tries to advise him a little bit and co-sign what Pacey kind of was already thinking, in a great scene that also just speaks to Dawson's maturity and mindset, and also helps give us more of what I've wanted from this friendship that we haven't really gotten, so.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's nice in these rare instances when these sort of things do show up in the
Yeah.
show. I would always want more of them. I think because sometimes Pacey needs that, and sometimes Pacey needs Dawson, sometimes Dawson needs Pacey. And for the
Yeah.
longest time during that love triangle, they couldn't stand each other. They didn't want to be anywhere near each other.
Yeah.
You never thought they would ever speak to each other ever again.
Yeah.
And isn't
Yeah.
it nice that we can come back from that to something like this? It's lovely.
Yes. Yes. And that great scene we discussed a couple episodes back when, Pacey takes Dawson to the site of Mitch's death and tries to
Yes.
like
Yeah.
tell him this isn't your fault. So yeah, more of this, more of them just
More of this.
talking, advising each other, being there for each other in, these little moments like this. So I really liked that scene of, Pacey trying to figure out how to handle the situation and Dawson just kind of being a little backup support, and also speaking to Dawson's state, like, come on, people, like, because it also speaks to like what's happening in this episode with Joey still kind of not really knowing how to support him. So
Yeah.
she just kind of has stopped because like it just did not go very well last time.
Which again, I feel for Joey in this sense, because I obviously understand what that is like. It's not an easy position to be in when you're trying
Yeah.
so hard to comfort somebody who seems, through no fault of yours, totally
Yeah.
inconsolable.
Yes.
Naturally, when something like
Yeah.
that happens, you would be. So that's fine. So I feel a lot. I get it with Joey. But what I don't
Yeah.
get is just deciding to now stop. And because what's your end
And
goal
back
here,
away.
Joey?
Yeah, because I
Forget
mean, it's
about
like,
Dawson? That's not gonna happen. It's you, for God's sake.
no, but it's clearly like Dawson, she's not doing what Dawson needs. She's like forcing it a little too much, giving him books about grieving and freaking out about showing him things that will upset him,
Yeah.
and unintentionally making it about her feelings,
Yeah.
of not being able to support him in the way he needs, rather than just making it about him.
I
So
mean, let's remember though, Joey's mother did die of cancer, so Joey knows
yes,
what it's all about.
exactly, and
Because
her feeling like she could
just
be
in case you've forgotten, Dawson,
right, yeah, she's the
my mum
authority on
did
dead
die
parents.
of cancer, so I know what it's like.
What that
So
feels
it's not
like,
about
yeah.
you, Joe.
Yes, and so I think that's kind of where she's struggling to help him, that she can't really separate herself too much from it. So when he finds he can, listen to other people's problems, like sitting with Pacey, or Jen, who's been through therapy, can like
Yeah.
help him through it and kind of explain it to him and break it down beyond kind of the misconceptions that he has about it. That's what he needs right now. He needs
The
people to,
therapist is perfectly nice as well. Like, there's nothing wrong with the
yeah,
therapist. The therapist seems like a
exactly.
really
He just,
good professional therapist.
yes, and younger, so she can kind of like ease into a familiarity with him, a comfortability with him, a wavelength that's feels similar, as opposed to maybe like an older person who feels like a teacher or a parent,
Yeah.
or lecturing you or asking, interrogating you.
Well, she made a little bit of a joke about did Dawson envision her to be Judd Hirsch in a big sweater?
Sweater. Yes. And like, of course,
A
me
la
at the
ordinary
time,
people.
people. And I love that, like, at the time, I would not have gotten that reference when I watched it,
Yeah.
rewatched it all these times. So the
So
fact that
if there's one movie we've watched semi-recently on
yeah.
either one of Morgan hasn't seen or the main show where I have just vibed with a certain character's clothing more than Judd Hirsch in Ordinary People.
Yeah. So I love that we recently watched that this year. So I was like, like a very Captain America. I got that reference.
Yes.
So yeah, the therapy goes really well, and that's all kind of thanks to Jen for opening his mind to it, because she's been through that.
Yeah.
So that's an avenue where where Joey couldn't really help, because she hasn't really, Joey very, managing her issues on her own kind of account.
Well, Joey would want to be the therapist herself, but would be incapable of doing it. Jen realizes that professionals can help, so guides him to this.
Yes. And so so she's finding this way to support him without being super kind of invasive or kind of putting all this pressure on it. And we get a really nice scene of and we get a really nice scene of Jen and Joey, kind of Joey saying, thank you for being him. If I can't be there for him right now, I'm glad that you are, because it's kind of weird between us at the moment. And I think there's this underlying resentment, he that led him to say those things he said when he was drunk, that, had I not left school to kind of be here with you and figure this thing out with us, my dad would probably still be alive.
Yeah.
So I think there is this underlying resentment that, it's hard for them to kind of even, approach. So I think that also plays into why it's just not easy for them to kind of figure out how to move forward with their original kind of thought process of figuring things out with them. So Jen doesn't have that tie, so Jen can easily kind of step in there, and I like that Joey appreciates that. And then it also just speaks to, like, it's nice to be reminded of, where their relationship started and what it looks like now. Just like it's nice to see Pacey and Dawson get back on track. It's very nice to see Jen and Joey when they're on track. As
now God knows what's going to happen. Yeah, I mean, as we maybe start getting into a little bit more about episode 8, God knows what's going to happen when Joey finds out what's happened, because obviously Joey would have always thought this would be her and Dawson's thing to do, from the age of understanding what any of that even was, or what it meant, or what being together possibly looked like. Joey would have thought, oh, well, me and Dawson will do that for each other one day, won't we? Yes, we will. That'll be that. Now, we already know, obviously, that didn't happen for Joey, because it was Pacey.
We
know that. We get that. And there was a whole bit of an argument that followed after that, wasn't there? We all remember what was going on.
She lied about it and wouldn't admit to Dawson that she actually did do it with Pacey. And
terrible.
That whole thing. Yes. But
what's she going to think now?
Yes, especially after this very nice scene of, like, if I can't be there for him, I'm glad that you are, and this whole thing.
Which literally is what Jen was doing, and none of it's malicious in any way whatsoever. It's not Jen coming in going, ha ha ha, it's really always been about me instead, Joey.
It was very unplanned, very organic, and them spending this time together and her finding this in to support Dawson in the way he needed. So, he's able to talk to her about how well therapy went, and it wasn't as scary as he thought, and it was really helpful, and he's really kind of interested in it. And then Jen also kind of comes to a bit of a hard point when the other girl that her ex Charlie was cheating with comes to her and says, oh, I'm so sick of Charlie writing us these love letters trying to get us back. Like, aren't you annoyed with that? And Jen is like, huh? She's like, yeah, those those passionate love letters. It's so hard to like, I find myself, swooning and wanting to go back to him, but we can't do that, right? And Jen's like, what love letters? I haven't been getting. She's like, you haven't been getting the love letters? She's like, no. So then Jen realizes like he's pretty much made his choice,
Yeah.
that he really did like this other girl more than her. And so she does kind of
Well,
get in her.
she should feel bad about that as well, though. Not Jen.
Yeah.
I forget her name, the other girl.
Yeah, I
but she
forget
should
her
feel
name.
kind of bad for bringing it up.
Yeah, well, she does. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't realize. So Jen's ego is a little bruised, and Dawson's there to support her, which does lead to something else. But before that, like, he goes home to see his mom and talk to the lawyer about the will and like look around for a copy of the will that includes Lily. Let's see if he signed it. And it becomes this whole thing where they ultimately find it, and it's not signed. So Mitch didn't sign it. And Dawson feels some type of way about it. And it's something he ends up, I think, talking in therapy about, that Gail is like, yeah, it is what it is. He didn't sign it. So there's no point in like getting upset about it. And Dawson feeling like she doesn't care, and not understanding why Gail feels the way she does about it.
No, I mean, I must admit I'm kind of with Gail on this, because with this sort of thing, obviously, Lily's pretty new into the family. Mitch wasn't expecting to die in a car accident, and I understand being prepared, but people have a will. He had a will. He wasn't unprepared for this sort of thing. But ultimately, surely it can be figured out.
Which the lawyer tells them.
Money or assets or whatever it may be from a will is put aside by Gail for Lily until she's 18 or whatever it may be. 21, whatever it is. Surely Dawson should just realize that Gail, as their mother, would do that for his baby sister.
He's not gonna like hoard this money to himself
down by the father.
That it's hers.
He's just gonna take it. There's going to be sharing out.
Yes. But I think just his mom's reaction just kind of took him aback or something. So it's something he ends up talking about in therapy, and maybe frustrates him, and it becomes this whole thing of like him being afraid to be mad at his dad about things, and feeling like he can't be mad at him because he's gone.
It's been a few months now as well, I think we established.
I think it's been like 3 months or something. So, the therapist kind of telling him, like, if that's how you feel your feelings. You're allowed to be mad at him. It's okay that like he's not here. You have to be fair to yourself in allowing you to feel the way you want to feel. So that's kind of something Dawson ends up having to overcome, and I think realizes that that's what maybe is causing a lot of his anxiety, is that he's holding in these frustrations because he feels like he's not allowed to be mad at somebody who's not here anymore. So therapy kind of helps him through that. And ultimately, while he's home, Gail gives him a piece of mail, and it's the fact that he like won this film festival thing, like that his movie was submitted about Mr. Brooks was submitted, and it won this contest in New Hampshire somewhere, this little podunk town.
Now the question being, who submitted Dawson's movie to this film?
He's like, I didn't submit any movie, and Gail's like, your father did. So despite him not really like focusing on the details, like signing this will, he cared about, your dream. And Gail also, and Gail even reinforcing to him, she's like, your father loved you, and he, struggled to give up on the dream, but had he, he would have eventually given up on it if he knew that's what you really wanted. So Gail reminds Dawson that like, while Mitch was, had this disappointment about Dawson giving up on that dream, Mitch would have eventually come around and been like, okay, if this is what you want, son, I support that. So I think he also needed to hear that as well, because that was kind
Yeah.
of this whole guilt he was feeling about the whole situation. So yeah, seeing how much his father believed in him to turn this thing in and it wins without telling him um, was a really beautiful thing to discover. So after Jen gets this blow that like Charlie kind of chose the other girl and she's just feeling miserable, he invites her to go with him out of town to
Yes.
this New Hampshire thing to cheer her up, to get their mind off of kind of the things that they're dealing with. And that's kind of where
Yeah.
that
Thus
ends.
begins the 8th episode of the season.
Yes, yes. And then Joey's thing is not a huge deal, really. She's
It's not. It's a bit silly that Audrey wants to go on the real world
Real
Ibiza,
World Ibiza.
which
Yeah.
I'm not so sure what's going on there. It seems like a very Audrey thing to want to do.
Yes, and
as
that was
well.
very much popular at the time, the real world and all of that. So, yeah, Joey still working with Professor Wilder on decoding these letters from this obscure author, trying to figure out like who was she writing to, what was she saying in
Yeah.
this, and
Feeling a
through
bit like a fish out of water as well, because she's not.
yeah, like she's a freshman, she's not as
Yeah.
mature as these other students, she's not as well versed and studied in literature as these students, so she doesn't quite get all the references. They all seem very smart to her and she feels kind of dumb. So she's
Yeah.
feeling very insecure about her place in this group. Why did Professor Wilder even invite her to be a part of this group? But ultimately, with Audrey's help, she kind of comes to the conclusion that just how personal this author is writing these things. I don't think these were letters. I think this was a diary. I think she was writing to herself and for herself. And the fact that she kind of comes up with this brilliant revelation that nobody else could really figure out is a really big confidence boost for her and really impresses her to Wilder as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Joey gets a bit of a college win mostly in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An academic win for Joey, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
okay.
yes, yeah,
So, amongst this group, because it allows her to also gain and feel respected from her peers in this group as well, which they
yeah.
do. None of
Mhm.
this peer group are
Kind of
looking
snooty
down
or
on her
rude.
or anything,
Yes, or
snooty.
bullying her. Yeah.
No, not in any way. They want to have these conversations with her. They want to be friendly with her. And when
Mhm.
when she comes out with this unorthodox idea, they're all very impressed and clearly, probably friendships strengthen at that
Mhm.
point between
Yeah.
this Wilder's little literature group that he's got going on,
Yeah.
which is a nice little thing for Joey.
Yeah.
But New Hampshire film festivals are upon us, I
Yeah.
think, as we get the binder back out for
Yes.
episode 8. Hotel New Hampshire.
Yes, it nails it right there. Nails it right there. Episode
Oh
8,
dear.
Hotel
Not like
New
that, no.
Hampshire.
Well,
Yes,
that's
like
too
that.
violent. Oh,
Okay,
yes,
okay.
like that, but that's a bit too aggressive. Dawson wouldn't
Yes, fair.
nail
Okay.
anything.
Hotel New Hampshire, episode 8, aired November 28th, 2001. Dawson takes Jen on a road trip to a small film festival in New Hampshire where his documentary is being honored. The spotlight is intoxicating for both of them as they share one of the single most momentous events in a boy's life.
Oh, for goodness sake. I mean, why is it phrased like that?
I don't know. Meanwhile, Jack brings Joey and Audrey to a frat party under false pretenses, and Pacey takes Karen on a non-romantic date.
Yeah. You know what? Jack's going through a funny one at the moment as well. What?
Yeah, how did you feel about Jack? Yes, you usually are a pretty big Jack stan. You usually endorse all his because I even could admit, like, I did not like while like we both did not like Toby, I did not like how he handled the Toby breakup. He was very kind of
No, I was
cold
like,
and
fine, yeah, sure. Yeah, Jack.
so are you kind of now seeing a little bit of what Jen is seeing in terms of this frustration of Jack and the frat and how it's kind of affecting him?
Yeah, I see it now. Yes, it was purely my own dislike for Toby, I think. That
It overshadowed how crappy Jack treated him.
that made me just think, well, Jack has this fraternity. He likes this fraternity. They're all good to him in this
Yeah, they
fraternity.
accept him. Yeah.
They fully accept him in this fraternity. Yeah, we had that bit of a conversation as to him essentially being the token gay of the
Yeah.
fraternity because this is what was required for, I suppose,
The
DEI
quota. Yeah.
purposes,
Yeah. Some quota
which
they had to fill.
is
Yeah.
wild when you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but and that was a bit of a nuanced conversation, I suppose, that we had at that time. But
Yeah.
ultimately, they accept him, they like him, they get on. It's a very positive situation for Jack. He's able to come out of his shell because he has been a very sheltered person.
Yeah.
Through family life, through the struggles, obviously, that his own mother had, that Andy had,
Yeah.
his poor relationship with his father, with a
Father.
terrible man, and all of that.
Yeah.
So I like that Jack's been able to do this. What I don't care for is it now starting to turn into not just being a fraternity, but is he becoming a frat bro? Which we don't
Yeah.
want to happen because
Yeah.
once he starts saying things like, "Oh, Audrey's easy. You'll be able to get with her. Just buy her a couple of drinks and crack on." No,
Yes.
no,
Yeah.
no, 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 thank you very
Mhm.
much. We won't be having none of that, please,
Yeah.
Jack.
No,
Don't
we're not
want that
feeling
sort
this.
of talk going on. Not
Yeah.
into this sort of, "Ooh, let's manipulate drunk teenage girls" situation. It's creepy and wrong.
Yes. So the frat boys or brothers are like planning this big party, and like the whole point of the party is for everyone to get laid, essentially.
I mean, it is, and we
And
know this, and not that anybody's
yes.
even going to be bothered if any of this does happen with anybody.
No, all consenting adults and whatever. So, but the fact that, like, it's kind of pinpointed Jack, we've seen the girls you hang around with, they're pretty hot and this whole kind of thing. And we've
Yes.
seen Audrey, sleep with, multiple partners and be very
Sure.
kind of open and secure and confident with her sexuality. But, Jack just reads that as she's promiscuous, she'll sleep with anybody kind of thing.
Yes.
So he ultimately says, I think I know just the girl, so he asked Joey to go as
This
his date.
random this
Yeah,
random
frat
guy.
brother. Yeah, so this frat guy called dibs on whoever Jack's got, because yeah, he hangs out with some really hot girls. So Jack ends up hooking Audrey up with one of his brothers who
Yeah.
seems, pretty sleazy. So they end up going to this
Audrey doesn't
dinner or to this
like
party. It's like a kind of fancy thing. Audrey's really excited. She's like, "Oh, I can't believe, Jack set me up and wanted me to come." Like Audrey's really hyped about it.
Oh, yeah.
We get to the party and we ultimately see this guy just talking about his workout routine and not being very interesting. So yeah, I mean, Audrey will do what she wants to do, but you also have to kind of keep her interest. So this dude's talking about the most
This is
mundane,
just the case
boring
with anybody,
bullshit.
isn't it?
And she's
Surely,
yeah,
anybody, certainly at this sort of age, if you're into this
yeah,
sort of lifestyle, I suppose, are going to want to go to these parties for a given reason. The given reason,
yes,
"Oh,
it's gonna
look,
take
somebody
more
I can
than
get
yeah,
off with," for
yeah,
example. Audrey actively wants this to happen. That's not
yeah,
the issue here. The issue is this guy's a loser, essentially, or he's just
yeah.
not, he's just
Very
bored. He's
interesting.
not very
Yeah,
interesting at all. Audrey doesn't want to get with him. And the
yeah.
advice Jack gives him is, don't worry, just keep going. Audrey's easy. And it's that
Yes,
little
Audrey's
bit of
easy,
language
she'll
there.
put out soon, and Joey walks up and hears him saying this.
Yes,
And
and
then
with Joey, I'm into the Joey scoffing at Jack at this point. This is
yes, and him Jack trying to fight against it and defend it. It's gross that he even is, like, trying to say some type of thing. It's like, "Well, isn't it true?" kinda thing, and, "It's not that big of a deal." Like, him trying
mm,
to write it off as not a big deal, and Joey's like, "This frat has turned you into a jerk."
yeah.
And yeah, she does end up
I mean,
really
what
scolding
this was
him good.
like.
Yeah,
This is a very prevalent university, college age people,
Yeah.
boys, men, boys,
Yeah.
mentality. It is. This, I
Yeah.
remember this going around when I was there. This was a thing. There were certain people
Yeah.
who you would get kind of nudges and be like, that girl over there, if I
Yeah,
decide,
if you want to.
okay,
No.
what were you
Yeah.
telling me this for? And me being me, it's just like, oh, I'm gonna leave.
No thanks. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm not listening to you. I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
But it's just a thing, isn't it? So I accept it as Jack now seemingly becoming a bit of an immature frat
Yeah.
bro college student, and I can see it as a bit of a character shift. I
Yeah.
don't like it, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
not
And
like it's. I can't be mad at it because it's how the character's written, and it makes sense for how the character is being written at the moment. So it's not
yeah.
like something that's come out of nowhere. It's this
Nowhere. We were already
gradual
building up to this. Yeah.
influence.
Yeah. 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 So I do like that Joey, gives him the business. Do we think he's forgiven far too quickly and easily?
I think he's
Um,
forgiven. Well, we don't see the apology or the conversation between Jack and Audrey the day after, do
yeah.
we? But Audrey
Yes.
seems very pleased about this apology conversation that they would have had.
Yeah. Yes. Joey
But
walks
we have
into the
to take.
dorm room
I
and
think at that
finds
point,
Jack there. Yeah.
at that point, we have to take Audrey's word for it. I think because
Yeah.
she's the
I
one
mean,
who's
she's the one who was,
been done wrong.
yeah. Exactly. So when Joey walks into the dorm room, she finds Jack already there talking to Audrey. And Joey's like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Oh, I've just been putting Jack through a very grueling apology, and he's not going to do
Yeah.
it again, right?" And he's like, "No, I promise. I'm so sorry." And she's like, quickly forgives him. She's super playful about it. And as she walks out, she tells Joey to not be so hard on him. But I'm just like, I don't know. I felt like I don't think he should have been forgiven that easily because that was pretty.
No, maybe not that quickly. No, not that
Yes,
quickly. Look,
but
there was
like then you have
worse
to kind of
things he could have done, but
yeah,
it was a bad thing to do.
yes,
It was a
and
bad,
his
it was a bad manipulation to play.
yeah, and you have to kind of see the fact that he like immediately went there the next day to try to make it right, and he didn't try to like make it right through Joey. He went straight to Audrey, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate that. We love Jack, but that was just seeing kind of who he has been becoming is just like,
Yeah.
I didn't think he should be forgiven that quickly.
But then
Um,
maybe he needs to go through this to then come back out of it and
yes,
realize
and
that,
also make amends with Jen as well.
yeah, there's a healthy
'Cause he's
balance that needs to happen.
yes, so ultimately, Joey kind of forgives him as well and makes peace with him, and that's kind of that situation. So then we move on to Pacey and Karen and that whole thing. We
Mm,
saw that there was this work party, and Danny's like having a nice little chat with Karen, and then his wife shows up and she goes to dance with him, and Karen is left there like stewing, staring at them. She wants to go over there and say something. Pacey has to stop her. So
He's like, yeah,
ultimately,
I mean, don't do that, Karen.
yeah, no,
Don't
no, no, it's
do
not
that.
gonna look good
Never
for you.
ever do that.
Yeah, and Pacey kind of realizing he has feelings for her. Um, and so ultimately says, "Okay, I'm gonna ask you out. Like, no pressure, but like I'm here, I'm asking you out. Just know like there's other options out there. Like you don't have to be going through this." And so she reluctantly decides to go out with him. And the date seems nice and they're having a good time and he walks her to her door and then they start making out. And making
Yes,
out leads to other
platonic my
things.
foot. There's no
Ye
platonic nonsense about this at all.
yeah.
There's no, oh, it doesn't have to be a date. Action Station Central, as I like to call it, sometimes
Yeah,
when the
yeah.
thing happens, walks
And
to the
even
immediately start ripping each other's clothes off.
exactly, and I mean, even post that party at the work, she kinda storms out, and I think Pacey brings her some food, just in case, like, she, might be hungry. He's kinda looking out, taking care of her, kind of trying to talk her out of, like, "This is not gonna end well for you." And it seems like she might be almost receptive, and then the phone rings, and Danny's leaving this message saying, "I'm so sorry
Yes.
about tonight. All I could think about was you. I love you so much. Please, I just need to hear your voice, please." And like begging her to hear from her, begging her to come see him, begging her, "I love you, I love you." And Pacey just
But
kind
that's
of
all it
gets his
is.
things. And as she goes to answer the phone, Pacey just looks very disappointed and walks out and leaves.
Yeah,
So
I mean, look,
this all happens
it's
before he asks her
all
on a
this.
date. Yeah, so then he ultimately asks her on a date. It goes really good. They're making out. They end up hooking up the next day. Pacey's kind of like, "Okay, I think maybe we can start something here." But she's like, "No, this is nothing." And then Pacey realizes, "You only slept with me to make Danny jealous, didn't you?"
Yeah.
And
So
yeah,
it's all
not a
a
good look.
very
Yeah,
it's
a
all not a
mess.
good look.
Yeah,
It's all a messy situation
yeah.
in every facet of it.
Mhm.
Karen doesn't know where her head's at.
Yeah.
Karen's head should be where Pacey's head is, and it just can't get there. It's a sad look from Danny to be pitifully on the answering machine.
Yeah.
Go when you're at a party with your wife, going, "Oh, Karen,
"I miss
you're the
you. I love
greatest. I
you.
miss you.
Come see me."
I
Yeah.
can't think about anything else." Oh, sort yourself out, man. Yes, you can. Go. Just go and be with your wife. It's
Yeah,
fine.
exactly, like, and if you're gonna do what you're doing, like, why do you need to then, like, rub salt in the wound and give her hope and, like, keep her on the line, like,
Exactly.
you know you
It's
know,
just all at this point.
lay it out, and if she still wants to be a part of this mess, then she wants to be a part of this mess, but don't string her along with love, and "I wanna be with you, and I can't live without you," but, you're
I mean, no,
still
there's some
100%
serious,
committed to to your wife.
yeah,
If
there's some
this is gonna be a
serious
thing, let her know
statements.
what this thing is, like, "I care about you, but I'm not gonna leave my wife, and so if you're fine with
Yeah,
us doing what we're doing, like, okay, fine, but don't be, like, stringing this woman along and giving her this hope," because there are moments when she does think that, like, he is going to leave his wife. Like, she says as
yeah,
much, and Pacey
that's
kinda
the
has to
thing.
be like, "Yeah, no,
And
that's not gonna happen."
that's yes, that's the worst thing about the whole situation. Yes, okay, the infidelity is one thing, and sure,
Yeah.
okay, you know,
Yes.
but the manipulation of it
Is even
makes
worse.
it
That 10
worse.
times
Makes it so
worse.
much
Yes.
worse.
Yeah, yes.
You can't be coming out with promises when the party, when the party in Karen's position, Karen, is
Yeah.
not he's in a messy place internally. He's in a
Yeah, it's
place where
clearly
he's
not
going to
servicing you.
believe the promises you're
Exactly.
saying to her, Danny. So if she wasn't believing them, if you wouldn't need to say them. It would be a far more straightforward situation.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, it's still infidelity, but it's at
Yeah.
least straightforward
Yes,
infidelity.
and then if, like, she knows what she's getting into and just, goes
That's on
along with it,
her.
that's on her. But for you to make these promises, for you to string her along, for you to beg her to see you, beg that you love
Yeah.
her,
This is on
apologize.
you then.
Yes, and you're just compounding the situation even worse. So ultimately, Pacey's influence on trying to be real with her about what her situation is does ultimately get through at a point because Pacey, he can't deal with this anymore. He can't deal with, this guy that he admired so much just
Yeah.
being this kind of awful person. So he goes in and he tells Danny he quits. And he's like, "Oh, well, Karen beat you to it." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, Karen quit. She just left like
Yeah.
minutes ago. So, I'm sorry that I didn't live up to who you thought I was. I never said I was perfect. But I really, was impressed by
You know
you
what?
and you could
No, you
stay.
didn't.
Offer still stands. I think you're great. But I understand kind of thing." So Pacey, finding out Karen quits, like he does walk away, but I don't know if he's still quitting. I don't
Well, no,
remember if
it's not outwardly stated necessarily.
no, but I know he does, there are episodes down the line where he does find a different career path.
Or maybe he has.
So
May
but I
maybe
don't
he has.
remember Yeah, so I don't remember when that quite is.
Okay.
So I that's kind of something I'm a bit foggy on if he does in fact like quit in this moment,
Well, it would make.
and move on to
Well, the
something
thing
else.
is, I would like to talk at some more detail length about
Mhm.
Jen and Dawson and all that, but
Yeah.
this is worth getting deep into as
Mhm.
well. It would make sense, obviously, if Pacey quit at that moment. It's just not outwardly said. So this is why we're in this
Yeah.
speculatory mode at the moment.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's just not outwardly said, so we don't know. It would make sense if he did.
If you did,
Let's
yeah.
leave it as
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
The further problem, though, is the rebound nature of what Karen ends up doing to Pacey, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just a kind of she sleeps with him. He really kind of does like her. I think he still
Yeah.
kind of does like her.
He
There's
does.
gonna be
Mhm.
something in there that he still kind of does like her.
Yeah.
She sleeps with him, gives him the hope Danny's giving her,
Yeah.
just to essentially make Pacey aware that that's literally just happened, so she can feel something that she's not getting from Danny at this
Yeah.
during this particular night because he happens to, his wife's turned up.
Yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, just perpetuating this cycle of using people essentially, which
Yeah,
just sucks.
not good.
So no, so not a great kind of ending on this situation for Pacey, kind of losing this really great situation he's found himself in and losing a potential relationship and losing a really cool mentor. So yeah, Pacey kind of in a shitty place in a situation not caused by him, just a situation he's
Yeah.
found himself in, unfortunately. So, sorry, Pacey. We love you.
Film
Um,
Festival Central
yes.
is a bizarre place because for some reason you get this really obnoxious guy there who's I've
Yeah,
won the award at this festival for the last
every year.
94 years.
Yeah,
And if
yes.
anybody else is going to win this award, they had better be worth. Who are you? Where have you come from?
Yeah,
Frighteningly obnoxious, terrible
he's
person. I
like a
don't
rock
like him at
star.
all.
Oliver, he's like this rock star in this town, essentially. Like he's this like big time
I'm sorry,
director.
right? I understand. I'm taking my glasses off. I'd like to point out at this point to despair in my
Oh
own,
my
with my
god, the
hand on my
frustration
head
with this character.
even more. What? Podunk nowhere, New Hampshire. I'm sorry for anybody who does live in this town in New Hampshire. I do apologise, but seriously, I mean, it's not exactly a major movie industry place, is it? So what on
No.
earth do you mean you're the rock star director? And you are absolutely right. He comes out with this sort of nonsense
And the
himself.
people at the festival running the festival when Dawson checks in tell them, "Oh, that's
Yes.
Oliver. Yeah, he's really big time around here."
Who cares? Who cares?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
I'm the big rock star director of. I don't even remember what the place was called, New Hampshire. That doesn't. I'm sorry. That doesn't mean anything. You don't get to be
well,
petty and obnoxious and that into yourself
yeah.
that you can't just accept losing one. You've won for the last however many
3
goddamn
years,
years
I
you've
think he
won this
says.
award
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now somebody else who's not even from around here, a big Hollywood type has come in.
He calls
Hold on a
he
minute. What
calls
do you
him a
mean a
Hollywood
big Hollywood
slickster.
type?
He
He
calls
does.
Dawson a Hollywood slickster.
What's that?
Hollywood
Dawson's from Dawson. I'd like to point out if you're from Podunk Nowhere, New Hampshire, Dawson's from Podunk Nowhere, Massachusetts. So you're really the
Exactly.
same person.
Exactly. But he sees Dawson as like this cool guy or whatever, especially because he shows up with Jen and he thinks Jen's pretty. So that's a
No,
cool
for
kind of
God,
thing.
this
And everyone
the
ends
most
up
obnoxious
mistaking.
character in Dawson's Creek since the introduction of Toby, who did mellow as a character
Yeah.
over the course of
Yeah.
his run, but the first appearance of Toby, I could have
So Yeah.
vomited on his face.
Obnoxious.
He was that
Yes, yes.
obnoxious. And this
Yeah, but the
guy's even worse.
yes. But his purpose that he serves is to ultimately come around to Dawson, appreciate his film, and let him know that, "Hey, there's a quirky little film school here in Boston that I go to."
Yes. Yes,
So,
there is.
that's
Nudge, nudge,
literally
wink, wink. I wonder what Dawson's doing.
How do we get Dawson to Boston with everybody else?
I mean,
So
I don't
that
think, does Boston have an overly thriving movie industry? I mean, it must have something.
you have something,
Well,
yeah.
you get
I mean,
Boston movies, don't you?
yeah, it's a
Well,
major city, so we do get, a little bit of something, something. But
in fact, there's a Boston movie on our main show series for June in the
yes,
Robert Mitchum series, The Friends
yeah,
of Eddie Coyle. If you have
yeah,
been listening to
following
the
along
main show
with
in
that
June.
series. Yes. So, yeah, maybe there's a thing, but yeah, so I think the only purpose this all of her character serves is to let Dawson know about this cool, quirky film school in Boston.
But you know
So,
what? He could have done
wink,
that
wink,
without
nudge,
making me
nudge.
want to throw something at the screen.
Yes. But ultimately what happens at this awards presentation, like everyone sees Dawson's film, they're really kind of geeked out and excited about it. That's what kind of gets him on this Oliver guy's radar.
'Cause they're all
And
film
when
nerds, you know, they understand and know who
yeah.
AI Brooks was.
Yes, and that's what Oliver says. He's like, you're making me look bad. I thought I was the only nerd who knew who AI Brooks was." Um And so ultimately, when the kind of head of the film festival goes up to announce Dawson's award in movie, he talks about how this movie came in like 3 days or a couple days after the deadline. So I was already set up to hate it, but it was accompanied by this letter from the director's father talking about how proud he
Yeah.
was of his son and what a great filmmaker he was, and that it would be a huge mistake if I didn't accept his film, and I'm glad I listened. And so just kind of Dawson in this moment hearing how much his
Yeah.
father loved him, what his father kind of doing this gesture without even telling him about it.
Yeah. Because obviously
Um,
the people at the film festival, the people running the film festival,
don't
don't know
know.
he is dead.
Exactly. Yes. And so Dawson hearing these words post all of this really hits him hard. And like as the guy's saying this, he, puts his hand out and for Jen to take because he just needs that support.
Yeah.
And he goes up there and he gives his speech and he talks about, saying he didn't know that his father said that or did that, and he dedicates the film to Mitch. So, very sweet moment. And
Yeah.
then post
Very emotional
the
moment, very
yes.
moving.
And when I think they do set them up with a hotel room at the beginning of this whole stay, they do set them up in the honeymoon suite. So it ends up being this funny thing with the two of them. Also, I didn't mention at the end of the last episode, uh after I think Dawson has like a really good he finishes talking to his mom or I think post therapy session or something. He gets in his car and he puts on Jen on the radio and she talks about
Yes.
dedicating a
On the
song
stupid radio.
to somebody she went skinny dipping with once, and we even flash back to the scene where her and Dawson were skinny dipping. So
Yeah.
we're setting up like the connection that they had and that time in their friendship and relationship. Because remember that skinny dipping scene, Dawson went to kiss Jen and
He
she
did.
kind of backed off because she was happy with where they were. Like she was like, "We finally become friends. I don't want to mess that up."
Yeah.
Um, so
Only
just
for
kind of
now.
calling back to
Jen
that was
be
really
all like,
and there was a bit I think I noticed, like, in my head, like, it was a little bit of a callback to when Dawson first saw Jen getting out of that cab, that, like, he was talking to Oliver, and then Jen walks up, and they have her kind of walk up a little bit slow. They have him kind of look at her in this awe way as she walks up, like, from the bar to approach him. They really focus on her walking up to him very much in the same way
yeah,
that, like, she walked up to him in that very first pilot episode.
very
So
purposeful.
ultimately yeah, so they get back to the room and they kind of have this bit of a flirty conversation and about their relationship and why it didn't really work out with them. And, he's like, "I seem to remember you were the one who dumped me." And she kind of still doesn't know why she did that. And then she kind of admits, and then I went on to like shamelessly throw myself at you. And I love how James Van Der Beek performs this because it felt so organic. Because even kind of like it trips up on his line a little bit. It feels like
Yeah.
he's naturally talking. He doesn't feel like he's reading lines or dialogue. And he kind of just laughs to himself and her about how much he loved. He's like, I have to admit, man, I really loved when you were throwing yourself at me. Like, I really loved it. So just I loved kind of the natural honesty of that moment. It just felt so real, and I loved that choice from him. So yes. And he's like, but I know the reason why it didn't really work out between us. You were never like sexually attracted to me. And she's like taken aback, like she's like, is that what you really think? And he's like, yeah, like I think you thought I was safe.
You
And
were
she
safe.
yeah,
You were.
but she tells him that wasn't the reason by leaning in and kissing him. And then they start
Now you're
making
not
out.
safe. Now
Yes.
you're all cool and an award-winning film festival
Director.
director. Oh, you're a Hollywood
Yes.
slickster now.
Slickster.
Dawson.
Yes, but I love this reminiscing conversation. It's so well done. It feels
Yeah.
so organic. It feels so natural with these characters. It takes us back to a really interesting place in time, a really interesting place in their relationship. And when it leads to kind of this honesty of like this misconception of how they saw each other at that time, again, just speaks to how mature they are now and how much
Yeah.
they've grown, that they can say these things in honesty and honestly kind of realize, no, this is how I really felt at that time. This is what and maybe I couldn't verbalize it in the moment.
And
And
then
so
they
she
put
kisses
some
him.
Marvin Gaye on and get to it.
Yes. So she kisses him and they start making out and then he gets on top and then it cuts away to the next morning, come back from
Thank
commercial
God for
break.
that. You don't need to see that.
Yeah, we see him
We're not
feeling up under her
interested in all
PJs a
that.
little bit. I mean, as a teenage girl, I'm like giggling and swooning and
I mean, of
Um,
course. Yes. I'm only joking in this.
yes, I think I
Yeah.
was 17 at the time. So yes, I was very much like loving
Yes.
it, loving every
I mean,
minute of it. And like realizing, oh yeah, Dawson's the last one to
do-
lose his virginity.
yes, he is. I mean, this has been a
Yeah.
big
And the fact that he's not
thing.
like even precious about it or the thought of like, oh, I wanted Joey to be my first time, even like none of that. He just goes with the moment of it.
But you know what?
It's
It- I so much prefer that than if it had
yes.
been
A
this.
thought, this moment to think, this moment to question. There's none of that. She kisses him.
Yeah.
He says, you weren't attracted to me. You thought I was safe. Her answering his question by kissing him and then him just like going for it and just being in the moment with her. I loved
Yeah.
that. I loved that there was no hesitation about what's Joey gonna think. What does this mean for me and Joey's me and Joey's precious relationship? None of that came into mind, which could have been the case considering why he was even in Boston in the first place and how this season started. I like
Correct.
that we don't bog down this moment with that. We just let them be in this moment. We build up to it beautifully with all the nostalgia in their relationship, and it just works so well. So,
Correct.
yeah.
And this is this is the great thing about this, how this comes to be. Is
Mhm.
that obviously, as I've said, the show has always seemed to be purely Dawson Joey. The overarching thing of the entire thing is Dawson Joey. Now it's not. It's trying something different. It's and it's not just trying something different for a little while. The fundamentals of Dawson's Creek have changed for the benefit of Dawson's Creek during season 5, I think. And this exemplifies it. This Dawson casually and without thought and naturally and feeling like and authentically sleeping with Jen feels like the most un-Dawson's Creek thing to happen in the best possible way. Because how was I imagining Dawson's first time, as it were, quote unquote, to be? I was envisioning a grand, huge spectacle. Oh, there'd be rows of candles and roses, and it would be a preposterously
Yeah.
planned thing. And
Yeah.
it isn't, and it never
No.
was.
And even before that, I forgot that, like, when they're in bed having this conversation, he thanks her for being there in a way, finding a way to be there for him, in a
Yeah,
way that he needed. So I like
yeah,
that that's acknowledged, that, like, it feels like everyone has kind of tried to be there for him, but hasn't really found the angle that works for him, or, particularly Joey. And so I like that he acknowledges that you found a way to support me, to
yeah.
be there for me, to kind of bring me back, in a way that wasn't overwhelming,
It's
and
also, I think, a great actual to bring it, I suppose, big picture, wider context viewing public.
mhm,
It's it's actually a great depiction of something like that happening for, as you were 17, 17-year-olds to watch. Because
yeah,
in what I was envisioning Dawson's losing of his virginity to be like, is this
yeah,
grand spectacle, this ultimately pressurized situation.
yeah,
Anybody of the demographic aiming, who Dawson's Creek is aiming at, watching such a key thing happen in such a pressurized,
yeah,
planned, meticulous situation
yeah,
is going to think about that own experience for themselves.
mhm,
But having it presented in this way for your title character, your lead character, to so naturally do this at 17, at 18, that Dawson
yeah,
as a character is,
presumably is,
for the
yeah,
17,
mhm,
for the 16, 17, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds watching Dawson's Creek at
yeah,
the time, and those who may still be that age watching it now,
mhm,
you know, to see that it would enlighten you as to the fact that there isn't the pressure needed that you put on
no,
yourself, this sort of thing. Because culturally, in these parts of the world, stunning amounts of pressure are put on that sort of thing, and a lot of that does come from the movies you watch, from the TV you watch,
oh
from
yeah,
those
mhm,
outside influences.
depictions of
There's
it,
so
yeah,
much emphasis being put on this thing, and the fact that so little emphasis was put on this just happening, it just happened because it felt good at the time, and this
yeah,
was great. And even the conversation that they happened after, of Dawson being like, "Oh, I mean, I was kind of expecting it to be this game-changing, life-changing thing," and Jen being like, "Oh, well, okay, thanks for that, Dawson," but it being like, "No, I didn't mean it like that. It was
yeah,
great, don't get me wrong, it was amazing, but I put so much pressure on myself,
pressure on
I
this,
being
yeah,
Dawson at this point." And
yeah,
I now realize, I being Dawson, I didn't have to do that. And that's so important, I think, for any 17-year-old to hear.
yeah, and him talking about, like, it blew all his expectations out of the water, like, he expected it to be
Yes,
this
because Jen
certain
was
kind
that
of
great.
thing, yes, or even, like, the first time not being so great because you don't know what you're doing and all this stuff, but he
Yeah.
was like, "No, this was amazing." And even just kind of, like, seeing the honest and really caring conversation that comes before they even went into it, and that just leading to it. So you can still have
Was
that
it
care, it doesn't
amazing
have.
for Jen? Let's just
Oh, yeah.
determine,
I
was
mean,
it
she
amazing for
wakes up,
Jen?
Dawson is sleeping, and she's there, sat up, like, combing his hair with her fingers and just looking lovingly at him. So,
Must have been
um,
okay then.
yes, and I love too this kind of thing. He was like, "You," he was about to say "you," and she's like, "We." And he's like, we're
Mm.
great." So I love that she, like, corrects it and makes it about the 2 of them, and also kind of
Who
in
knew
telling
Dawson?
her.
I don't know if I
I
picture or
mean,
envision or believe Dawson a good
Dawson could.
lover, but I've gotta take Jen's word for
Especially
it.
to an experienced Jen. Yeah, and so they ultimately decide that,
What
like,
was he
I don't know what.
doing?
And Dawson, very much like what Danny should have done, not putting these expectations on this relationship,
Ah, right,
just
yeah.
saying, "All I know is I'm happy." For the first time in a long time, I think I can say that I'm genuinely happy, and that this feels good. I don't know what it means. I don't know where it's gonna go, but I want it to continue. And that's all I can really say. And Jenna's
Yeah.
like, that works for me.
It's a lovely
So
place to end.
yes. And it's like, I wish we didn't have to go back. And he's like, well, let's not. And he dumps out his bag and he says, let's stay a couple days. So then they end up staying in this little honeymoon suite as this little couple and decide to stay for a couple days. And that's where we kind of button things up. So they're in
Very
this little
for
cocoon.
48 hours time, there's gonna be some soreness, I would imagine.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know about soreness.
Crack on, go at it. Have fun, do whatever you want.
Yes.
Put the Marvin game.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna be in this nice little cocoon bubble. So what's gonna happen when they have to bust back out into the real
I mean,
world?
what is going to happen?
Yeah.
And who's going to notice them both walking a little bit funny?
Yeah.
Audrey.
So
My bet's Audrey.
Audrey immediately is gonna
Audrey
smell
knows.
the sex on them. So yeah, how is this going to land? And just kind of the interesting of like how our foursome like lost their situations, all very in interesting ways.
I'll tell
Yeah.
you what's going to happen. Joey's going to panic. Pacey's going to be like, finally, dude. Yeah, great. Yeah, good stuff. Like that. Love that for you too. Jack's going to be like, damn, okay. Nice. Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see how this goes. Audrey is going to be all for it. It's the only thing Audrey's going to be able to be talking about for the next year. And Joey's going to panic. Because Joey panics.
Those are your predictions. Okay. All
Those are my
right.
predictions.
We shall see. But yeah, a lot going on. Some exciting surprises. So yeah.
Very much so. Very much so. Obviously, next time out, we shall see on Discovering Dawson's Creek.
Yeah.
It will be here in 2 weeks' time. This, of course, alternates as a show at the moment with diving into Doctor Who, a funny place that the Doctor Who's in at the moment, obviously, with all of its recent fallout from is it a cancellation? Is it a stoppage? Will there be salvation for Doctor Who? When will we ever get Doctor Who back again? Look, it had a big break in the past. We may be in for another big break now. Who's to say at this point? At this point of recording, we're in that speculatory.
Yes. But who might come back because other people are no longer.
Well, this is the fun aspect. Maybe, in 5 years' time, we get a very old Christopher Eccleston coming back because all of his most hated people who work on Doctor Who no longer work on Doctor Who. Finally, after 20 years, they no longer work on Doctor Who. None of them. As far as Christopher Eccleston's concerned. But we are, of course, here celebrating Doctor Who at the moment on Diving into Doctor Who, currently in Series 3 there in the David Tennant 10th Doctor era. That alternates every Monday with this show, of course, here. And Morgan Hasn't Seen is every Wednesday. The main show, It's a Wonderful Podcast, is every Friday, celebrating old movies over there. It's the thing we love to do the most on this feed. Do subscribe wherever you are listening to today's episode, or indeed if you are watching on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel, do subscribe and ding your notification bell there for all our video things. But wherever you are listening, subscribe, leave your comments on Spotify, rate, review, like, and share all across the place. And if you would like to support us on Patreon or donate in any way, do find the links to do that in the description of today's episode. Or, of course, find us on and across all the social medias. Apparently not if you're a teenager in Britain anymore, because they've recently banned social media for the under 16s. Don't know how that's
wow. That's crazy.
It is kind of crazy. I'm kind of for it, to be honest.
I mean, the amount of nonsense that's out there and the amount of influence that's out there, negative influence.
Yeah, but I kind of I can't imagine me having not had social media at 15, for example. because I was of that age at the time.
Yes.
I mean, it was mainly
I was of that age.
I'm a
I didn't really
but I was, it was like, I didn't even have Instagram at 15. So
yeah, Instagram was not invented when I was
No.
15.
Instagram was
so,
invented in 2010, I think. So it was around, but
yeah, no, not yet.
wasn't that.
When
But
I was-
fundamentally, it's just
Yeah.
a weird thing that's
Yeah.
recently happened. And we don't need to talk about
That's
it now. It's
crazy.
not relevant. But you can find us, the general population can find us
Yeah.
across all the social medias, unless you're of a specific age in Britain, on the app formerly known as Twitter and on Blue
Mhm.
Sky. In fact, Blue Sky you can still use. That's not
Okay.
fallen under it, I don't believe.
Okay.
So, on at It's a Wonderful One, of course. You can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at the Purple Dawn with a 3 instead of the E in the because, Jeannine.
3 is a magic number.
On Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at the Purple Dawn. All your Dawson fun times are where?
You can find me Jeannine to Bean _ on Twitter, Jeannine to Bean on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And if you want to get any merch for any of our shows, just check the description for the link or search G9 Design on tpublic.com.
Well, there we go. It, of course, does leave only one thing left to do. And in your most excitable, relieved, and morning after style, Dawson. Specifically Dawson. I'm not asking you to do it yourself. That would be inappropriate for this particular moment.
This is a very interesting request. 3, 2, 1.
Or he would be going, oh my god, 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 oh my god. Bye.
Bye.